There's plenty of more information coming in each and every day regarding the 2024 presidential election, with both parties vying for power in Washington, D.C. The Democrats trying to get Joe Biden reelected despite some low approval ratings once again for the president, and then more candidates jumping into the Republican race for the nomination this week as well. Joining us on the program to talk about that and more is Dave Dulio, Distinguished Professor of Political Science at Oakland University, where he also serves as the director for their Center for Civic Engagement. Dave, thank you as always for joining us.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Good to see you, Tyler.
Yeah, good to see you as well. Big week it's been for news in the presidential election, even right here in the state of Michigan, with Governor Whitmer this week filing paperwork with the Federal Election Commission, or FEC, to form her Fight Like Hell PAC, which is going to be aimed at particularly funding campaigns in 2024 on the Democratic side. And according to Bridge, Michigan, a big focus of that political action committee is going to be trying to get Joe Biden reelected. So, let's begin with Governor Whitmer and her standing in the Democratic Party. We know in 2016, she was on that short list of people to potentially run with Joe Biden as his VP candidate. But even over the course of the last several years, with Michigan's growing importance in the political realm across the board, how much more important does Governor Whitmer then become over these next couple of years as we approach the 2024 election, and even beyond that? Her growing profile is going to be very impactful in this upcoming election.
Yeah, I think that your phrase there, growing profile, is a good one. She has, ever since she was first mentioned as a VP candidate in 2020, she has sort of grabbed that opportunity to become a national political figure, and she's done that rhetorically. She's done that with the interviews that she's done on you name the station. Her fundraising has been prolific, and with money coming in from all over the country. This is just another step in her sort of throwing her hat in the ring of national politics. And we'd be remiss if we didn't say that she's also a co-chair of the Biden reelect. So this is another avenue for her to have an impact. And let's also not forget that her sister is running for a U.S. House seat in, I believe it's New York State. So, the Whitmer sisters might be some dynamic duo where the governor can raise some money to help her sister.
And it's going to be necessary for Joe Biden to get that kind of support from people like Governor Gretchen Whitmer and other up-and-comers in the Democratic Party, considering his approval ratings, even within his own party, are, to put it lightly, quite abysmal. So how important is it going to be for the Biden campaign going forward to really rally the troops behind him in that leadership that's also in some cases trying to get themselves reelected or jockey for position for their own political futures?
Yeah, I think every little bit helps, but I'm not so sure that even somebody with the standing of Governor Whitmer in the Democratic Party can get those Biden approval numbers, higher by themselves, right? I mean, just having Gretchen Whitmer be a surrogate for the Biden campaign isn't going to make people forget about the inflation that we're facing, other economic indicators, other things that people are worried about, like crime in many communities. So, it's really going to be incumbent on the incumbent, Joe Biden, to turn those things around, right the ship on his own.
We're joined on today's program by Dave Dulio, Distinguished Professor of Political Science at Oakland University, where he is also the director of their Center for Civic Engagement. You can find more information on programs at Oakland University at oakland.edu, and on the Center for Civic Engagement, especially as we get into the fall and the election season gets into full swing. Oakland.edu/CCE. Big news this week on the Republican side, Dave, has been a couple of more candidates that were one in which case was expected to get into the race, and another that isn't necessarily a surprise, but also throwing his hat in the ring this week, as former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie announced that he has filed to be a candidate on the Republican side as well as former Vice President Mike Pence, also running against the man that he served with, Donald Trump, for the Republican nomination. Now, looking at the field on the Republican side, we know the two heavy hitters are Trump and DeSantis. It's pretty well understood that it's between Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis for the Republican nomination. And it's not that these candidates down the line don't have any chance. It's just that their chances are essentially slim to none. So with that being the case, why do candidates get into races like this when they know that there is a presumptive candidate, or there are one or two heavy hitters, maybe three heavy hitters total, but still throw their hat in the ring? What's the purpose of that?
Yeah, I think that success in a campaign can be measured in other ways than just winning. And while that may seem, sort of an academic answer, maybe it is, but it's also true. I would add one caveat to your comments about some of the other candidates like Nikki Haley or Tim Scott that are in the race. It's not that it's DeSantis or bust, right? I think with the right context, the right shifts in the political atmosphere, one of those candidates could emerge. I think it's the chances of that are low, and in all likelihood it is gonna, it's Trump or DeSantis. Now these other candidates, right? You said their chances of winning are slim to none. I would add to that Slim just left the building. Chris Christie is not going to be the Republican nominee. Mike Pence is not going to be the Republican nominee. That is just a pipe dream in their eyes. And I say that because, the eventual winner of this thing, if it's not Donald Trump, is going to have to get some support from the Trump wing of the party. And Mike Pence just is not going to do that. I mean, and that's nothing against Mike Pence. He is who he is. He is principled. He is steadfast in his beliefs. He just is on the wrong side of Trump. And I think Christie is he's there to be an attack dog. I think he is there to go after Trump. I don't know if some other Republicans encouraged him to get in the race solely to do that, but he said that he's gonna take on Trump because somebody needs to. And for those two, I think it'll be fascinating to watch how they approach it. I think the others, somebody like Haley or Scott or even Ramaswamy, right? Go back to my first comment, right? Success in a campaign can be more than just about winning. And I think that holds true certainly for those other candidates like Haley, Scott, and Ramaswamy. One other thing I would add is that it wasn't an entrant into the race this week that I took notice of. It was somebody who passed, and that's Governor Sununu in New Hampshire. And your viewers or listeners might start thinking, well, why is that important? Well, Governor Sununu in New Hampshire comes from one of those early primary states, and it's one where they don't always pick the winner, but they can certainly shape the rest of the race. And with Sununu out, the polling that I've seen shows that the majority, the plurality of his supporters' second choice is DeSantis. So Ron DeSantis stands to benefit from Sununu's passing on 2024.
And these candidates that are, so to speak, down the line, like you mentioned, they have an impact ultimately on how these things shape out when they get out of the race and throw their support behind one of the heavy hitters that's leading or is near leading in the race and may just need a little bit of extra support behind them to get that big jump in one of those big states during the primary season. But they also help to inform the overall platform of that party going into the general election. How does that ultimately have an impact, having the opinions and having the policy of these different candidates come into the fold and at least get out there rhetorically during the debate season?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think they can certainly have an impact on the conversation, right? And demonstrate the breadth or narrowness of a party's sort of where they stand on different issues, right? And I think that just take abortion, right? That's going to be one where there isn't much difference between all of those candidates, and there's going to be some, right, with Mike Pence on one side and maybe Trump on the other, or what have you. But then take another one like the war in Ukraine, right? There could be very, very broad differences between the candidates in the GOP primary on say that issue, and a host of others that we know now are important or will be important, as well as those that will pop up in the next year.
Well, Dave, we appreciate you joining us to talk about how these different things that pop up each and every week in this campaign, new candidates coming on, and certainly about those that are maybe not presumed to have a chance in this race, may actually have an impact in the race for the Republican nomination. Appreciate your time as always.